Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Advisor Podcast. I am Lisa Urbanski, co-host of the show. And today we have an incredible guest joining us. This is actually his fourth show. His name is Scott Friedman. Scott is a fitness expert. He is a coach and motivator who brings years of experience in strength training, nutrition, and peak performance. He is not just about lifting the weights, you guys. He is about lifting people up, empowering them to take control of their health and unlock their full potential. I'm so excited to talk with Scott today, and I'm about to introduce him to you all. So, Scott, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. It's great.
Yes, amazing. And where are you coming from again for all of our listeners?
Chicago, Illinois. So
Chicago,
Central Time,
Illinois.
yeah.
Okay, amazing. And what's the weather like there today?
It's actually a heat wave where, in March, usually you're gonna get some pretty bad weather. It's like 40 degrees today. It was 50 yesterday. So I mean, we're actually feeling pretty good right now.
Oh my God, that's crazy because it's the opposite where I'm at. It's like really cold. It was minus 22 this morning. So
Oh gosh, no.
we're going through the opposite right now.
Yeah, no. That sounds horrible.
So, Scott, last time you were on the show, could you tell our listeners and viewers what you covered? Because they're going to want to go back and listen to that episode. It was amazing.
Yeah, there's a handful of things we've talked about in the past. Yeah, general sense is just fitness mindset is a lot of people are struggling to stay consistent and see results, and how do you overcome those obstacles, those barriers in your way. And so we kind of took 3 episodes, kind of did a deep dive onto fitness mindset, how to just become more consistent, how to do progression, how to see results, how to get more confidence and knowledge in your own world. So those would be kind of the last handful of episodes we did on the show.
Amazing, amazing. And can you give all of us a taste of what you're going to be covering today?
Yeah, I think, it's fun to talk about fitness mindset. It's kind of a weird, kind of woo-woo topic. A lot of people don't necessarily resonate with it, even though they don't realize that it's 100% for them. So today I
Right.
thought it would be a good idea to give some people just direct, as little nuance as possible advice on fitness and nutrition. So do X, here's what happens. Do X, here's what happens. And to kind of just give, here's the things that you should be looking to do if you have X goal. And I think that's kind of what I want to hit today, just more tangible conversations.
I love that because a lot of people complicate it. A lot of people, including me, when I first started to, take control of my health, I was thinking of all of the things and not simplifying things. So I am excited to, jump into it, get into it, and hear what you have to say.
Awesome. I love it.
All right. So what's the first tip you have, or what do you want to cover first? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So in no particular order, these are just things as I kind of thought about them. So they're a little jumbled. But the first thing is weight loss is a huge right now. And there's all these different things out there. Every
Yeah.
influencer on social media, everyone's saying this, don't do this, have this new oil. Oh my gosh, eat the yeah, okay, enough.
Yes, I
Pure
love it.
and
I love your energy. Yes.
Yeah, pure and simple. Pure and simple. This is the foundation. This is the blueprint. This is really all that matters from just a weight loss perspective. Is if you want to lose weight, you must be in a caloric deficit. Done. Okay. Now,
Period.
what is a caloric deficit? Everyone walks around with a caloric amount of a calorie amount they have in their body that will maintain their current weight. So you can go online and type in calorie calculator or whatever it might be. It's called TDEE, Total Daily Energy Expenditure Calculator. Try like 3 or 4 of them. Average them out. Give yourself a number. Mine is roughly 2,400 calories a day to
Mm,
maintain my current weight. So if I want to lose that weight, I have to be in a deficit, so have less than 2,400 net. And if I want to gain weight, I got to be more than 2,400 net. And so, on average, to lose half a pound a week is 250 calories a day deficit on average. To lose a pound a week is 500 calories a day on average to lose that. So it's just that simple. It's a math equation. Yeah, you can get into this and stubborn fat. Doesn't matter. On average, if you do it this way, you're going to see results. Again, there's nuance to it as you kind of do this over and over. Just to get started, be in a deficit. So if I am at minus, let's say, I'm not sure what the quick math is, let's say 500 calories a day, I'm eating 1,900 calories a day. or I'm
Right.
consuming or netting 1900 because you can count fitness. Oh, I worked out for 200 more calories so I can eat more. Fair enough, whatever.
Right.
But I'm netting 1900 calories a day, which means over the course of a week, I will lose 1 pound, give or take. And over the course
Right.
of a month, 4 pounds. Over the course of 2 months, 8 pounds, and so on and so forth. Can you do it straight through? Probably not. There's going to be weeks so you have to kind of ebb and flow a little bit every 8 weeks, every 12 weeks. But overall, it's simple math, and I wouldn't overcomplicate it with this or that or this diet or this program. It's just be in a deficit and you'll lose weight. And a reasonable way to lose weight long term is sticking between anywhere between half a pound to 1 pound a week. Sure, you can do 5 pounds a week, but it's you're gonna there's your body kind of has a pretty good way to rebound off of that stuff. People will do crash diets, lose 40 pounds in a month, and then they'll gain it all back. And so for a long-term sustainability, half a pound to a pound a week. Next thing you know, 20 weeks later, it's oh my gosh, I'm down 15 to 20 pounds. You're gonna look amazing. It's gonna be awesome. So that's my first piece of advice: is just be in a caloric deficit. Don't worry about the nuance of when you eat it or how or this particular body lotion oil reduces. It's like, what are you doing? Just eat a
Hmm.
little less, work out a little bit more, be in a deficit on your day, and you're going to see awesome results.
Yeah, I love that. And it's just so simple. I think the one thing that is coming to mind though, as you're speaking, and I think all of our listeners and our audience is going to want to know is what's the easiest way to keep track of how many calories each item they're putting in their body is? Like, do you use a special app or what is the Scott Friedman way to track their
Well,
calories?
I think knowing that you think a little bit differently than most people. I'm a very systemized person. I love looking at spreadsheets. I love kind of looking at the data. I mean, I have my
Okay.
own spreadsheet of like, here's what this, oats, traditional oats is 150 calories, X amount of
Okay.
carbs, zero protein, whatever it is, right? And I list everything out that I eat in meals, and I kind of have my total on a spreadsheet. There are apps
Okay.
out there. I don't want to recommend an app because like it's not a sponsored show, but like free apps like a MyFitnessPal is a good way to get started, right? It's a good way. They
Okay.
have a bunch of foods in their database. You can scan foods on the app to like, hey, if you buy, whatever. I'm trying to think of a good. If you buy chips, right? Scan the label. How many chips did you have? Great, and mark it down. So there's no
Right.
right or wrong way. The easiest way is to actually track it. A lot of people don't like to track it, and that's okay. I find that to be very difficult to do is to not track, but
Hmm.
I love it. I love tracking. I don't track daily. Once I kind of have my meals set up, it's very easy to kind of figure out what I'm doing. I also have a list of like 5 to 7 meals that I just kind of transfer in and out each day, right? So I kind of
I
know what my
like
meals
that.
are, and I just pick which three I want to have, and I go from there. Losing weight, getting healthy is a little monotonous at times. I think that's where a lot of people, well, I want to eat out every single day. It's like you can. It just makes it a lot harder. For every caveat that you add to weight loss, it becomes
Hmm.
that much harder. So if you can't cook your own food and meal prep for 5, 6 days and you want to eat out every single day, okay, well go to that site's website. They might have nutrition information. You go from there. If you have to guess, then you do a lot of trial and error. So the easiest way is to actually just like look at labels and read if it says per serving is 140 calories and X carbs, X protein, Y fat. Write that down, and then you just add it up at the end of the day, and there you go. So there's no trick to it. Using it, another app that comes to mind is Chronometer. That's another free
Mm.
app that you can use to track. That gives you better micronutrients, I think, and like you can actually see like, all the nutrients in your body.
Right.
So both those apps very easy to start with, and then from there you kind of mold it into kind of what works best for you.
I love that. And it's crazy when I started like measuring out like even my salad dressing. I used to like take the bottle and like squirt it on.
I
I
do
didn't realize
that.
how much I was
Oh my
using.
gosh,
And then I
olive
started doing
oil.
like the 2 tablespoons, but the amount of calories and certain things that I wasn't even aware of was crazy. And so just having that awareness is so powerful. I love that.
Yeah, I also recommend maybe getting a scale, like a food scale. I know it sounds a little
Right.
like, oh my gosh, it's really it takes you. I think having a scale takes you less time than measuring out your food. Because if you put
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, I this morning I made like oats, and so I
Mm-hmm.
put the bowl on the little the scale, zeroed it out, it's zero, and I know on the thing it
Right.
says okay, 40 grams is 150 calories. I dump it in, 40 grams. Great. Next. Doesn't take you any longer. Pour in the milk or the almond milk. Okay, I'm going to do it's 240 milliliters, which is essentially grams. pour it in there. Okay, next, put, scoop in the protein, scoop in the peanut butter, whatever it is. It just tells you what you're doing, and you
Right.
just map it out. And if you do the same thing regularly, if you want the same amount of calories, you start to memorize. Okay, that's how much this is. We're good. That's how much this is. We're good. You could do, fistful is 3 ounces or 4 ounces, whatever it might be. There's little tricks you can do, but inherently a scale, although it may seem a little like crazy or, oh, I'm doing too much, it actually makes your life easier because you're not guessing. It's like, oh, and it doesn't take you any more time than not using a scale. It actually makes it better because then you're like, oh, I know if I put 200 milliliters in, it's too hard of oats. If I have to put 240 in, it's too soggy. So I know 220 is like my favorite texture, and that's like it
Mm.
could be a good way to actually have better food, a food palette as well. So.
I love that. It's like the Scott Friedman way is like simplifying things,
uh,
right?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I hope so. I'm just simplify as little as possible, and then you can build nuance into your life as you get to
Right.
it. But I think you need to get to the point where you've done this for a few months in a row, and then
Hmm.
you've built that habit before you just go, I'm gonna do these 15 things in order to lose weight all at the same time
Right.
every day and like after 2 days you're done. You're like, okay, I can't do this anymore because it's just there's too much. Every influencer has got their new method, and it's like you try all these methods. Like, just how about you just eat less a little bit, and then we
Yeah.
go from there, or you start counting things or whatever it might be. So I'm not saying it's the only way, but that's the way I happen to like to do it.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. I love that. And so tell us more. What else? What other things are out there that people need to know, but they're overcomplicating?
Yeah, this one's more in the muscle realm. If you're trying to gain muscle or minimum maintain muscle, which is one of the most important things that we can do for our
Oh,
bodies,
okay.
because
I'm excited
weight,
about this one. You're gonna answer
yeah,
a
I
lot of
mean,
my questions right now.
I hope so. I hope so. This one, it's very basic, but a lot of people want to lose weight because they think weight loss equals looking a certain way, and that is not accurate. You can lose weight and also lose, you'll lose water, you'll lose fat, you'll lose
Yeah.
muscle if you lose weight the wrong way. And if you lose muscle, you are not going to look the way you think you're going to look when you are 20 pounds lighter. So the key here is to maintain as much muscle as possible when you are trying to lose weight. And then conversely, if you're trying to build muscle, I think this rule still applies. Again, some exercise physiologist, dietitian will actually, it should be fine, but I'm talking to people just getting started here, okay? And just baseline information, try it this way, see how it goes, is you should be shooting for or roughly eating approximately zero point 0.8 to 1 gram per pound in protein. All right. So
Okay.
I weigh 170 pounds. So quick math off the top of my head, I want to eat somewhere between 140 and 170 grams of protein a day to grow or maintain my muscle as I kind of work through. So if I'm trying to build muscle, that's the same number. If I'm trying to lose muscle or trying to lose weight, but not muscle, that's the same number. Again, there's fluctuations, so on and so forth, but it's a
Hmm.
good rule of thumb. So if whatever you weigh, just multiply it by zero point 0.8 or whatever you're currently at. And that's a pretty good range. Yeah, if you don't hit it exactly, no big deal, but you want to get close. If you weigh
Right.
170 and you're only eating 100 grams of protein, that is probably going to be a problem for either if you're losing weight to maintain your muscle, because you're going to lose a lot of muscle, or if you're trying to grow muscle to grow your muscle. So I think
Right.
that's a really good way to kind of put it.
Yeah, great. And so I was doing fitness coaching in my 20s, and we had these two models. One was of 10 pounds of fat, one was of 10 pounds of muscle. And the muscle was so lean, and the
Yeah,
fat was
it's
like
like
huge. So people who would get stuck on the numbers and the scale, they would actually be losing fat, gaining muscle, but they wouldn't lose the number on the scale. That was a mental block for them. So people need to understand that as they're getting healthier, they're gaining muscle, which weighs more than fat, or it's equivalent, right? So you're losing fat, your body's just getting into shape, but you still need to put food into your body, right? So that's a lot of protein. How do you ingest all that protein in your body every day? Do you have tips for
yeah.
people for that? Because I struggle with that. I want to just
I,
shove peanut butter in my mouth when I wake up.
Yeah, I don't recommend that, but peanut butter is high in fat, so it's very calorically dense, and so that
Yes.
it's not it is okay. But it's like what 6 grams of protein per serving, which is not a lot for that many calories.
Okay.
I think from a baseline, it's and I'm not trying to be controversial, but animal protein is a complete protein, and it has everything you need from amino acid perspective, and so
Hmm.
4 ounces of chicken is like 25, 30 grams of protein. And
Okay.
and so ground turkey, ground beef, lean protein doesn't have a lot of fat in it, and it has a lot of protein. That's one easy way. Protein powder, if you can't get it in there, is actually a pretty efficient way, to get it. I don't, there's plenty of proteins out. I won't recommend a specific protein, but I
Okay.
don't eat. I'm lactose intolerant. I don't do any sort of like milk-based protein. I do like
Right.
vegan protein essentially. And look, it's protein, right? Oh, it doesn't digest. Who cares? You're eating the protein. Get started. And just right there, if you have a meal of chicken, a meal of ground turkey, and a meal of protein powder, you're already looking at like 90, 100 grams of protein just right there. And then you'll realize, wow, like, oh, this vegetable has actually more protein, or this, whatever it is, like this snack has more
Right.
protein than I thought. And, you start adding up, oh, wow, there's a lot more. Tofu has a decent amount of protein in it. So there's different ways. It's just about, understanding kind of what you're putting in there and prioritizing your protein first versus
Mm,
last. I think just switching that priority. So that's, I think, you know, when you start to look at your meals, okay, I'm just eating rice and veggies or something. It's like, well, I
right.
need protein, right? And that's actually my parents do that. They'll have like just rice. It's like, what do you like? That's not a, I need
Yeah.
protein, like not a meal. And then if you're having like very non-lean protein, like very, again, not that it's bad for you, but like, things like pork or whatever it might be, it's like you'll realize there's a lot of fat content potentially, and which is a
Hmm.
lot of calories, which could inhibit you if you're trying to lose weight. If you're trying to gain weight, go for it. But yes, I would say protein powders are a great way, but also as you're snacking, look at the food you're snacking on and go, oh, this actually has 6 grams of protein. This has 5 grams of
Right.
protein. This has 10. And I think people underestimate the amount in veggies and things like that that they can easily consume as well.
Mm, yeah, that's interesting for sure. For sure. Nuts. I always have a bag of nuts in my bag, like a handful of almonds, and that's an easy way to get protein in.
Yeah, it's gotta be careful, right? Nuts are also very calorically dense with like a lot of fat, so they're mostly fat content. But yeah, they have probably what 5, 6 grams of protein per serving, which is good. Like that's 6 grams of protein. So and protein, by the way, the more you have, again within reason, the less hungry you get because it's very
Mm,
satiating. It makes you less hungry over time. So if you're starving all the time because you just had oatmeal and the oatmeal has no protein in it, well, if you add some
right.
protein, you will be less hungry afterwards. Not only do you have more calories, but you have more protein, which again makes you less hungry. So as you eat more protein, you'll find it harder to eat foods because you're already eating so much. And a lot of people who eat a lot of food have a lot of just tasty, delicious, amazing carbs, and they don't
Mm,
have enough protein, which is why they're always hungry. Have an apple; it's great, love it, but not a lot of protein, and you won't be as the fiber helps, but you won't be as satiated as if you were to have like a nice protein meal. So not saying you shouldn't have
right.
the apple, just the content is different. So.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask you, you touched on a few things, but a few like physical symptoms of not having enough protein. And you mentioned being tired or being hungry. So are those two of the most typical ones in your
I don't think
experience?
I don't think being tired would be one of them. I think being hungry is
Okay.
a big one for that. Again, and hunger, I wouldn't say I'm the best person to say, oh, here's signs you're not eating enough protein. I think the sign of
Okay.
you're not eating enough protein is you're not retaining your muscle during weight loss, or you're not gaining your
Okay.
muscle during an increased phase. In terms of physiologically, oh, I'm hungry. Well, that could be a lot of things. That could be hydration. That could be lack of
Right.
sleep. That could be protein. That could be lack of fiber. Like, there's a lot of things that could indicate from that perspective. So I will hesitate to give a specific answer on that one. But and from
That's
a
fair.
if you're working with someone, or if you're tracking, oh, I've lost X amount of pounds, but I look no different. I'm not, or my lifts are becoming so much weaker, or whatever it is. Like that would be
Mhm.
an indication that you're probably not having enough protein versus I'm hungry all the time. I think that there's more than one variable in terms of being hungry, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a great way of distinguishing it. Great. That's awesome.
Okay, so number three, I guess, is in order to gain muscle. So this one we're going to more
Hmm.
fitness based. In order
Okay.
to gain muscle or to retain muscle if you're losing weight, either way, okay, is you have to work close to failure on every single set. So what this
Okay. You got to
means,
repeat that. You got to repeat that. You got to
okay,
repeat that just for emphasis.
so in order to gain muscle or to retain muscle,
Yeah.
you must work close to failure on every set.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Tell us
Yeah.
more.
So what this means is, let's say you're doing, what's your favorite exercise on like weightlifting wise?
Weightlifting, probably like squats with weights.
Great. Love squats. Perfect. So let's say you're doing squats, and let's say
Okay.
you choose, how many reps do you want to do?
I want to do 10.
Great. 10 reps is great. Okay. So your first, let's say you warmed up properly, you did everything you're supposed to do. Great. So you do your first set of you do your first set. Let's say you did what weight would you want to put on the bar? First set.
Um, I think I would do like 20 pounds.
20 pounds. Okay. So 20 pounds first set. You did 10 reps. I'm gonna
Yeah.
now you stop, you re-rack the weight. I said, okay, how many more reps could you have done?
Okay. Well, on that day, let's say I could have done 20 more.
Okay. So well, that's a lot. So
Yeah, that is a lot. I'm aiming high that day. That day, I was superwoman that day.
fair enough. So let's say it's anywhere between five and whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's I can do
Right.
X amount more. If the answer is anything other than um one or two, that
Okay.
set is not being worked hard enough to gain the
Okay.
muscle you're trying to gain. And so what I would recommend my clients do is either increase the repetitions or increase the weight based on comfort,
Mm,
how comfortable you are with the weight
right.
until you get to the point where, okay, I did 10 reps. I did it at let's say 100 pounds. And yeah, like I was done. Like that was it. Like I had one, maybe two left in the tank. That's what going to near failure looks like if you're trying to build muscle, over and over again as
Hmm.
you go through it. There's nothing wrong with just exercising the muscles generally, but if you're trying to gain muscle, as you kind of going at this, you want to get close to failure. So, because what happens is most of the repetitions you do are essentially just a warm up, regardless of what set they're on, to get to the point where your body has to tell yourself, okay, I have to stimulate muscle growth in order to move this weight. If it's never hard
Okay.
enough for your body to tell you I have to stimulate muscle growth, then it's never going to actually grow. And so you always want to work with a weight that's essentially very difficult to do for every set. So for example, for me, let's say I'm doing
Okay.
bench press
Yeah.
and I'm doing a dumbbell bench press. I don't have a spotter, so I don't do all that without a spotter. So dumbbell
Yes.
bench press, and I will do, let's just say I'll do 70-pound dumbbells in each hand.
Okay.
And I can do 12. That's pretty much
Okay.
where I know. And if I get to 12, it's hard. I can't get it up. I'm pushing, I'm done. Great. Coach asked me, hey, how many more could you do? I go, that's it. Or I could do maybe one more if I get whatever it is. That's how I know I'm working close to failure and that I'm doing enough work to tell my body, say, hey, I got to grow muscle here because there's a stimulus that we can't overcome. And so therefore, it allows it to grow over time. Now, if you're losing
Mm,
weight, it's more of a, hey, we're not trying to grow muscle, we're just trying to maintain as much as we
mm,
can. Because as you lose weight, you're gonna lose your strength. You're gonna lose, you're not
right.
be able to lift as much, and that's okay. But it'll tell you, hey, no, I'm still this strong. I'm still this strong. Maintain muscle. Don't get rid of the muscle. Don't get rid of it. Don't get rid of it. Let me keep it. Let me keep it. And if you're trying to gain muscle, it's hey, we need more. I gotta push harder. And so I think those two things are very important. So whatever weights you're doing, it's great to do 5 pound curls or whatever it might be as you're doing it. But if you're really trying to, get more defined and get more muscle, then
Right.
I would recommend working, not too failure, but close to failure with one or two reps left in the tank on every set. It doesn't go, oh, my first set's easier than my second set's hard, my third set's the hard. No, they should all be hard all the
Okay.
time. And that's what it takes because you don't need to do 50 million sets a week or a day. You just have to do a handful and you'll see great results that way.
Well, my 20 extra sets that I told you I could do is really, really bad. Then I was not pushing myself at all that day.
But at least you were moving and at least you were getting your body moving, and that's better than nothing.
Right.
And
I
that's
love
and
that. I
that's
love
still
how you,
good.
yeah, that's very true. I always was scared to push myself in that feeling of like, you're worried that your body's going to give out or your muscle's going to rip or something. I don't know, it's like a mental thing, but I love that. It's like you can't get past a barrier unless you push yourself. So that's a great way of looking at it for muscle growth for sure.
Yeah, I like how you put that too. Also, if you're brand new, don't worry about the nuance of doing that. Just like do the 10 reps at 20 pounds, right? And then build
Right.
your way up. Just if you're just starting out, be careful. You don't need to go all or nothing. It's about building up to all of this stuff. You don't have to start from 0 to 100. I think that's another big approach, kind of a preface of the whole conversation of, yeah, like, it's okay not to do it perfectly when you first start. Give it a month or two
Mhm.
and you'll build your way up and you won't even notice. It'll be great.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. Just getting started is the most
Just getting
important
started.
thing.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well,
Number
I'm excited for number four. So
yeah.
yeah, let's get going.
This one is crazy. I'll be honest, I didn't know this one up until wouldn't say recently, but about a year or so ago. It's and not that what I was doing before was wrong, but it's interesting to see that the data is coming out slightly different than what it was previously. Is if someone back in the day wanted to gain muscle, most people would say, hey, you got to do within the range of 6 to 12 reps. That's the hypertrophy range if you're trying to build muscle or maintain muscle. That's the
Six to
range, six to
12
12
reps.
reps is
Okay.
the building muscle. So if you do 15 reps, oh, you're not really building muscle, you're doing more like endurance. If you do under
Mm,
6, you're doing strength. And I think it is more reasonable now to say that if you're trying to build muscle, anything between 5 to 30 repetitions can build muscle, with the caveat of you got to be close to failure with whatever number you decide. So it doesn't matter if you try to go at a higher weight at 6 reps or a lower weight at 20 reps. What matters is that you are pushing yourself close to failure on the rep scheme, up to about 30 repetitions, give or take. So I think that's a good rep. So people are just starting out, they want to do 20 reps, go for it. It's just a matter of making sure you hit the right mark. Now, the one nuance to this, and the reason I think 6 to 12 is still a very good number to go with, is because
yeah.
as you increase the repetitions, it becomes harder and harder to know if you're actually going close to failure or if you're just stopping because your muscles hurt. And there's a big
Okay.
difference. And even I have trouble after about 15, I have a lot of trouble I'm like, okay, this really burns. You get like a nice burning sensation. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I can keep going, but I don't want to keep going because it burns so much. And so
Right.
when you're in the lower repetition range, you don't really get that as much, or at least as it doesn't feel as much as that. So I would recommend still that 6 to 12 range. But if you're someone who's not confident or starting out, yeah, 15, 20, 25, as long as you're pushing yourself, is at least a good way to get started. And you still will build muscle that way.
And how many sets do you recommend that people do of those reps?
That's a great question. That's number 5. And number
Oh, look
five,
at
yeah,
me.
number is so I do it in sets per week. So sets per
Sets
week to
per week.
me, yeah,
Okay.
of per muscle group. So for example, chest, back, quads,
Yep.
hamstrings, shoulders. As you get small, so I'll break it up into 3 categories. You have your major muscle
Perfect.
groups, chest, back, and quads. You kind of have like your middle, hamstrings and shoulders. And then you
Uh-huh.
have your smaller stuff, biceps, triceps. I don't, you can count core and calves, whatever it is, do those at your leisure, essentially. But
Those at your
biceps,
leisure.
triceps, yeah, and glutes is probably in the middle as well. Glutes is probably in the middle, and
Yeah.
I would. The first 3 are the most important is your back, your chest, and your quads. And so I generally recommend anywhere between 10 to 20 sets a week for each of those muscle. So for example,
Okay.
if you work out 3 days a week, full body, you do everything full body, and you do 3 to 4 sets of each muscle each of those days, you are within the range of that goal. So
Okay.
let's say on Monday, I do 4 sets of chest. And let's just say we just do bench press all week. And then Wednesday, I do 4 sets or 3 sets of chest. And then Friday, I do 3 sets of chest. In the week, 7 days, that's 10 sets. So
Right.
that's enough of muscle stimulating volume to get you results or to maintain what you currently have or to not lose in a weight loss phase. Same with quads, same with back. As you get
Mm.
smaller in the muscles, you don't need quite as much of the volume to maintain because also they're being worked. When you work your chest on a bench press, you're also working your shoulders. You're also working your
Right.
triceps. And so those are also being worked indirectly. So, your glutes, your hamstrings, your shoulders probably don't need as much. So if let's say you're doing 14 for chest, back, and quads, you probably only need to do 9 or 10 for hamstrings and shoulders and glutes, and then biceps, triceps is probably like 6 or 7 or something like that. These are all give or take based on the person, but it's a good
Okay.
kind of starting place. Now, if you're just starting out, don't do that. Start with like
Yeah.
2 a week and work your way up over the course of weeks. But for people who've been working out for a couple months, it's a good, if you're not sure what to do, go for 10. So figure, okay, what do I have to do to get the 10 sets of chest a week in a 7-day period? And I think you'll see a lot of results that way.
Mm. So I think I want to know, our viewers and our listeners want to know, what's your favorite body area to work out and what's your least favorite? I know
I
I
hate
used to hate
everything
doing
so much.
legs. Oh,
No, I'm
no,
just
you got to
kidding.
choose it.
Fitness is horrible for you. I hate working out. I wish I was just in shape by not having to work out. That would be great, right? It's awesome. Uh, I
Your
would say
least
my
favorite.
favorite, my least favorite. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I really, I don't know what it is, but I really don't like rowing very much. Like I like
Okay.
it when I think mentally getting into rows for me is just I don't like the idea of like almost
You're
like
talking
the
about the rowing
helplessness.
machine? The
Yeah, like
rowing
a cable,
machine?
like bent over rows. I don't like bent over rows because my back, but like a regular seated row, I don't like it because it's for me it's hard to get close to failure. Versus like
Okay.
a bench. I love chess because it's easy for me to get to failure. I know it just the motion feels good. I like all of that. I hate doing unilateral exercises for legs because it just takes forever to do. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the harder things for me to stay consistent on. So like like lunges or split
Right.
squats, or single leg RDLs. Like you just gotta do one side, then do the other, and then you have to, and then it just takes a long time to finish. And you're trying to, I'm trying to go, I'm trying to move. So I'd say, my favorites is probably upper, chest, upper body, and then my least favorite is probably a seated row, just because it's hard to get to failure for me personally. And then, any sort of unilateral single leg exercise. 'Cause I do them all the time. And it's like, okay, I gotta do this today. Which, by the way, I think
Right.
is if you saw me roll my eyes there, it's like I think it's almost good to see that. Yeah, I'm not in love with all the workouts that I do. I do them because I know I need to, and I know they're good
Yeah.
for me, and I've built that habit. So I go to the gym knowing that like today might not. It's like yeah, I gotta do this today, but like I know I'm gonna feel better afterwards. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're someone who thinks you have to feel good while working out, I disagree. I don't always feel good when I'm working out, and I feel good afterwards all the time, but I don't
Yeah.
always want to go, and I think that's important. Like that feeling of I have to want to do it or it's not right. When I wake up at 5:30, I'm like, I don't want to go. I'm like, oh, like, do I want to sleep in more? My bed's so comfortable. It's cold outside, but you get up and you
Yeah.
do it because it's good for you. So that would be my
Yeah.
last. What's your favorite exercise?
Well, I'm big into yoga. But
Okay.
when I was lifting weights and doing weight training, the worst day was like leg training. I hated leg
Yeah,
day
see.
so much, but I feel like my muscles are always sore no matter what. Like I
Good.
practice yoga every day. I'm doing all these things, but they're always sore. Like I don't know why.
Okay.
My legs are always sore. So legs is absolutely my worst. I would say I like the core training. I like arm stuff, but yeah, legs for some reason I just could leave it.
Fair enough. Everyone's got their thing, right? Like I love doing squats. Big. I like squatting, so it's fun for me.
Okay. Well, we got to swap motivation for a day
Right. Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So amazing. Okay. Can you talk to us about all of the amazing services that you provide? Where can we find you? I love all these tips that you're giving us. Where are you? What do you do for people? And how can we find you?
Yeah, so I mean, the website, scottspeaksfitness.com, it's a way to kind of look at kind of all the services and things like that. But really, I'm pretty active on social media in terms of like there's a bunch of content on there. So Scott Speaks
Okay.
Fitness is the handle on social media. And then the podcast, I usually do a handful of episodes a week. They're all short clips, 8, 10 minutes, give or take. And, so that's called The Power of Progress. It's on, Apple Podcast, Spotify, things like that. So those would be the kind of the main ways to reach me.
Amazing, amazing. And we're going to have all of that in the show notes for you guys. So it'll be just a click away. Now, Scott, I'm curious, what got you into fitness? Like, where did your passion for this come from? And I think our listeners and viewers are really it want to know too.
Yeah, I have a few different answers for this because it comes at different times in your life. I think it first
Yeah.
started when I was 15 years old. I was always this naturally lanky, kind of scrawny kid, but like kind of had some definition. And at one point, like my junior year of high school, I started to realize I wasn't as like defined as I used to be. I was like, oh, I'm getting a little like
Mm,
chubby. So I was like, absolutely under no circumstance am I going to let that happen. I don't know what it was. I was just like I was just like terrified of it. So I started working out, joined the track team, started running, losing weight, not really losing, but building muscle. And I started working out. I made every mistake you could possibly make at the gym. I was on
mm.
machines. I was on machines like backwards. You would see like all those like memes. I was like, oh, this is wrong. And the trainer would have to come fix me. And then I kind of, I was in college and I was doing a pre-physical therapy major, and I realized I hated that and I wanted to kind of switch. I just didn't know what kinesiology was at the time. And
Mm.
kinesiology was basically exercise science, which is essentially personal training and or the study of the human body. And I got into that, and it was easy for me. I understood it very well, and
Mm,
I was able to explain it to people, and I was able to kind of help people kind of on their journeys, and it kind of just clicked. So I think a little bit of
right,
fear of being out of shape, and then also like, oh, I'm like really good at this, like this makes a lot of sense.
right.
And I should, I could pursue it and do something with it. And of course, helping people achieve their goals is always, it's a plus, the benefit of kind of doing it. So,
Yeah, I actually picture that in my mind when you said it. You like being backwards on like a leg machine or
oh
something.
yeah, it was
But
bad. It was like, oh, this isn't right.
I love though that you just like started doing it, even though you were doing it messy per se. Because like as you mentioned today, you don't have to do things perfectly. You just have to get started in order to build a routine and to get yourself into something, right? So that's amazing.
Yeah, and like you said, I heard something recently, and I'm gonna botch the quote completely, so but try to take the essence of it. Is your success is in the realm between how much you're willing to embarrass yourself. We're so
Mm,
scared of public embarrassment. It's like the number one thing we're all against, for various reasons, and we won't do things. And we will stay miserable or complacent, and we will not allow ourselves to be happy or do something because we're scared of the potential of possibly being embarrassed from our perspective. And so the more
mm,
you allow yourself to be embarrassed on things you're trying to pursue, the more success and the happier, more fulfilled you're going to be, I think, long term. And so for me, as a 16-year-old kid, like it's tough because like you don't want to be embarrassed, but it's like I didn't
yeah,
know anyone going to the gym. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And like it is, I just kind of had this like I don't care mentality at the time. Maybe it was
nice.
that it's naive. And as you get older, you kind of start to care about things a little bit more than you probably should. But I think that that's a good thing. If you're not doing something because of a fear of being embarrassed, which you might not admit to yourself, but part of it is that, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
It's if you can get over it, or just at least push yourself through it to feel that embarrassment and go through it, you'll grow, you'll learn, you'll gain that experience, you'll push forward, you'll kind of level up as you do it. So I think that's a very important thing for people to hear.
I love that. I was literally just going to ask you to leave our viewers and listeners with a tip or something powerful. Do you want that to be what you're leaving the listeners and
Yeah,
viewers?
I like
I
it.
love
Yes.
that. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, people worry so much about what other people think, and it's it's interesting, and this is going to sound bad or mean, but nobody really cares because
No one
everyone is so
cares.
stuck in their own mind. So nobody cares. And I watched a video that I did like, I don't know, 3 years ago. It was like a first live or something, and it gave me so much perspective. I was terrified. I like choked on my words. I looked awful, like the camera, the angles, the lighting. And I was like, that is so perfect and beautiful, though. Because then I can look back on it and like you can see your confidence. I can actually see the confidence grow throughout the years of doing
Oh,
them. So
that's good.
I love that you touched on that repetition, the mindset, and just being okay with embarrassing the crap out of yourself.
Love it. Love it.
Awesome. Well, it has been so much fun talking today, Scott. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And hopefully the audience got something out of it.
Oh, I got a lot out of it. Our audience definitely got a lot out of it, and they're going to be searching for you on your website. And so that is scottspeaksfitness.com. Everyone, get in touch with Scott. He can help you on your fitness journey. He does not like rowing, so maybe stay away from the rowing. But thanks so much for being here. Thanks again. Thanks to our listeners and our viewers. And until next time, I am Lisa Urbanski with The Advisor. Ciao for now.